if I move this ERP or cloud ERP platform into a public cloud, how many of these legacy applications do I also need to move there? Again, I go back to the total cost of ownership.
From a customer point of view, SAP is a touch point, right? So SAP signs a contract. So it's one contract signed by SAP as an front end. And we are behind the scenes with SAP, right? And support the platform. That's how it works. So, and there isn't clear role segregation between what HPE does and what SAP does. And we're constantly improving it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. Today, we are going to look at how organizations can modernize their core system while staying in control of their data, compliance, and performance. And to set the stage, just think about something that is valuable to you. You want to keep it at home, you want it secured, close by, and always within reach. But you also want the flexibility and convenience of modern services. That is the balance many organizations are trying to achieve. So at the center of this is the SAP Enterprise Resource Planning, in short, ERP. It is the digital core of finance, supply chain, and operations. And recently, I learned that modernizations is no longer optional. There's a drive, there's a compelling reason behind. But the key thing is, how do we then modernize without losing the control? So that is a real challenge. So in today's conversations, we will explore how SAP Cloud ERP Private with the customer data center options, together with HPE, help organizations to meet these needs in their own data center. Joining in today's conversations are Christophe and Manny from HPE.
Hey Trish.
Hi. Nice to be here today. Thank you for inviting us.
Same here.
So Christophe, let me start with you. So how are customer expectations evolving when it comes to ERP modernizations today?
Yeah, I think the evolution that we see is maybe in the past, people were looking at the transformation around SAP, which is mainly a technical transformation, right? Mm-hmm. Today, because an ERP system is such of a mission-critical system to the organization, it carries a lot of different business processes who are essential for customers, no matter the industries. Anybody which is using an ERP, and especially the SAP platform, is really dealing with a very important system. And the question is not anymore like, do I have the right technology for the next 5 or 10 years or whatsoever? Am I business safe for the next 5 or 10 years? And today, this question become more and more complex. Because we have seen quite a number of shifts on the technology, but also on the geopolitics, the different environment who are at disposition to the customer. And again, people realize also that the change with an ERP system are taking time. So whatever you are going to do into moving into a certain direction need to be also for the next move to become easier. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So doing the right planning on what will be the future of your cloud ERP solution is going to be quite important, and making the right balance of how much capacity and how much flexibility and agility I'm having for this platform and for this specific solution is going to be also very critical for the future. So I think really the move today is customers are really shifting from just a technical sizing and deployment to a more business outcome driven decision with a long-term business continuity planning in mind.
Okay, so then are the customers also thinking about coming into what we call a SAP private cloud or on-prem, whatever is the terminology?
Yeah, it's becoming more and more, I would say the point of discussion that customers are having is because, they start to realize also that, as I said, it's quite of a very heavy movement type of workload. It's not something that you can just, like a container, for example, a container can shift very easily from one environment to another without too much friction. But when you come to the ERP system, because it's so connected to so many different applications, there is so many business dependency that you have into that. That is again, I go back to the term of mission critical. So mission critical need a lot of care. And again, do you have the right level of care and control when you are into a public cloud compared to if you are into a private cloud, that's the kind of balance people will have to find. And that balance, again, is very difficult to judge at the moment, because we can see that depending on where you are, which geography you are actually operating your business, the location where you are going to host this mission critical environment is going to be quite important for your future.
So Christophe, you started to talk about the challenges about all these modernizations, moving it from the old system into the new system, whether is it on-prem or continue onto the cloud, right? So then maybe from your perspective, do you have any more things to add on around the challenges in practice?
Yeah, I think from what you explained, Christophe, and the questions, right? You hit the right paradox, and that's the right fitment for SAP Cloud ERP Private setup. Just to give an example, right? In SAP ERP Public Cloud, right? The rules is rigid, right? So the customer business requirement needs to fit to the standards, right? So it's like fitting to the standards is what will happen when it's on public cloud. But when it comes to SAP, Cloud ERP Private setup, SAP gives that flexibility, right? To change the tool to adopt to, or the software to adopt to the business requirements, right? That's one of the important points. I think that addresses what we are talking about, business examples, right? And number two, let's take an example of an, chemical manufacturing company, right? In reality, they've, been running on traditional ERP for maybe 20 plus years, and they do a lot of customization, right? And they have highly specialized and, proprietary way of calculating formula yields, for example. And if you go and try and fit them into a standard systems or a generic system, they lose their business advantage, right? And that's exactly where SAP Cloud ERP Private comes into play, right? That's the first point. And now, second, I think you asked about modernization, right? And modernization always becomes a tug of war when you do this transformation, right? Why do I say that? Because two things, right? First and foremost, when people think of modernization, some customers, what they do is they look at SAP ERP, as a private cloud setup, which is where they can do lift and shift of their existing ERP, which technically means whatever customization that has been done for past 20 plus years in terms of business process, you move them into the new system. That's not modernization, right? You're carrying the legacy technical debt, and that's no modern system, right? You're actually retrofitting your old system into the new one by doing a lot of customization. You bring in a lot of technical debt, right? That's one thing that needs to be avoided. And number two, right? When we say the customer needs to adopt for modernization, right? I would like to say modernization to the business is necessity, right? And they need to look at ways to isolate things from a business process perspective, and leverage tools like BTP, SAP BTP, for example, to offset some of those customization and move forward with the core deployment, right? That makes it simpler and better for them to run.
So then, for the audience who are less familiar with, how would you describe SAP Cloud ERP Private with the customer's data center option, which I think it essentially means like on-prem, but what exactly it is? Because I was told that this particular option is sold by SAP, but is actually deployed on HPE GreenLake solutions.
Yeah, let me give some clarity into that. First of all, what customer will have from SAP, no matter if it's on-prem or if it's in public cloud, the outcome, that means the service that they are going to get, are identical. Yeah. The second thing which is important to understand is no matter where they will deploy this cloud ERP, again, on-prem or into public cloud, the roadmap and the feature that they will have in the future are identical. Yeah. The only difference is the control.
Okay.
Yeah. The control, and specifically at day 2, is kind of a difference. Yeah.
Okay.
Why I'm saying that is when you are into a public cloud compared to private cloud, there is some change windows, that you will not be able to control because they are coming from the cloud service provider. They want to put into the entire worldwide platform a new something, and they will say, I'm going to deploy that something tomorrow. Is it the right time for you as a customer or not? You may not even have the choice or even a notification that this change has been made on the platform because it's a global platform. Of course, if you are into a private environment, that element of control, even though it's still coming from SAP and still as a service, the service is dedicated to you. That means it's not an environment where you are more than yourself operating on. So you can decide if, for example, there is a public holiday or something, or if there is a specific sales campaign. And so is it the right time to apply the change today or tomorrow? That will be your decision. Another thing which is also important is the location. The decision on where this infrastructure is going to be located for the production and the disaster recovery side. I mean, this whole entire topology, it's up to you as a customer. So again, if you are highly controlled environment, if there is a lot of regulation into the way you need to do things, the Cloud ERP Private give you that flexibility to align with your requirement that you may have for an industry because you are, let's say, an energy service provider. There is certain SLAs that you own to the public, and you want to have a certain topology that you are forced by regulation. Same thing for banks. So everybody need to also comply. Again, is the compliance that you have today established with a cloud management team from a public cloud going to be valid for the next 10 years of your requirement that you have locally? Nobody can tell because you don't know what will be in 10 years. And you don't know if in 10 years this cloud service provider will be agree to align with your new requirements. And that can become a business continuity issue that, again, on-premise you don't have, right? The way you are also going to be charged, no matter if it's on-premise or if it's into a public cloud, it will be the same to you. The price may differ because obviously you will have something which is a little bit more dedicated to you. But again, from an SAP point of view, they will give you the same I would say, commercial model to finance your environment, right? So the value of the commercial model may differ, but the framework is equivalent, right? So I think what I want to just say here is not because it's on-prem that it's not a cloud ERP. Okay, so it's a cloud services which is coming on-prem from SAP. We, as an HPE, obviously work with SAP to deliver to SAP the SLAs that SAP asks us to deliver to them, for them to deliver the services that you want to have as a customer. And so from a customer point of view, no matter where the cloud ERP services is coming from, if it's from their data centers under this cloud ERP private, or if it's from a data center, which is actually a public cloud environment for Cloud ERP public, the set of services coming from SAP will be the same.
The same.
Okay, that's very clear. So the cloud model actually comes to the business, comes to the customers, right? So then perhaps Manny, could you share with us, how then these things kind of translate into the operations? Because I think Christophe touched about it on a very, very high level. Could you just give us a little bit more insight into the operating model?
Okay. Yeah. So adding to what Christophe said, right? So just a couple of more additions to that, Christophe. The other flexibility that what SAP Cloud ERP Private really provides to the customers is the customization on-prem.
Oh,
right?
Could you share more?
Yeah. So normally, if you look at traditional ERP systems, right, which has been running on ECC for many years, there's huge amount of customization, right? Z codes, what as we call it, they do write custom, codes on the application itself. And I've seen personally customers who done 70-80% of customization under the standard platform, right? Which is very difficult. And that's their uniqueness, right? And when they wanted to retain that, it's a right platform for them to look for private option, right? SAP Cloud ERP Private, which gives them that flexibility, but we don't want to do a lift and shift technically because we're not wanting to bring all the legacy onto the new system, but that gives them the flexibility, right? That's one important point. And now answering your question on the operating model itself, right? So the Cloud ERP Private model, right, as such is built around a single core proposition, which is like, the cloud agility with enterprise grade security, right? And on-premise, right? That's a key point. And what customers get by doing that is that they get the flexibility of cloud, right, with a managed services operating model without sacrificing the need for customization that are available on-prem, right? That's a key thing, right? Cloud agility.
So can the customers kind of decide, my business is running my year-end inventory today or in 1 week's time. So Mr. SAP, you can't do any patches. I need my SAP system to be up and running. So please do not apply your patch at
Of
this
course,
point.
yes.
So
That's
where
so
there's a
the level
control.
of level of collaboration is basically higher, because it's really entirely dedicated to a customer and to a customer pulse, right? I mean, really depending on how the customer is operating, we are not changing that, and SAP is not changing that. We are transforming the technology, we are enhancing the services that this technology is able to deliver, but we do not change the usual behavior of a customer and his business. Another example which is important into that, right? And we have seen that very recent. I mean, I'm actually engaged into some discussion with some customer at the moment, right? Who are having more than, let's say, they have an SAP system, they have an ERP system, but this system is actually integrated with 93 other systems. And so you have 93 applications who are basically, or whatever is the number of legacy applications, but you have a number of applications who are feeding back and forth, by the way, the ERP system. They are sending information to the ERP system, but the ERP system also is feeding them, right? So the next question is, if I move this ERP or cloud ERP platform into a public cloud, how many of these legacy applications do I also need to move there? So again, I go back to the total cost of ownership, right? You can have a cost of transformation for your core ERP system, and obviously the whole connectivity, the whole ecosystem remain the same because you don't have to transform that. You just transform the core, but you don't transform all the link, all the integration and so on. You basically just do a swap of the kernel, right? But if you go to cloud ERP into the public environment, then you need to discuss, do I need to, or do I want to have also this network connectivity, this network cost, this also technical transformation through the pipeline that I'm going to have, because it's different from your data center to your data center. Now you will have to go from your data center to the cloud ERP data center of a public cloud, which is maybe having a different technology, a different set of services for security and so on, that you may have to transform also. So again, this is a very complicated domino game. And people need to understand how much of this domino game they want to play. Do they just want to put one piece and nothing else fall? Or do they want to have something and be into the Guinness book because they have so many things falling around, right? So that's the difference also that people need to also decide. Because again, these are very sensitive, extremely connected. It's not a standalone system. And this is why they are mission critical. And this is why the time for taking the decision need to be slightly longer, because people need to look at more than just the kernel. They need to look at all the implication that this transformation is going to have. And keeping that private is going to also limit the impact of all this change and the potential friction that you will have. Because usually these 90 or 100 systems we need to connect are usually the business application. That means the one that the business is using for doing their payment, for maybe managing the inventory of a set of parts into their shop floor or whatsoever. So that's the business function. which is feeding the ERP system ultimately, and which is also valuing the analytics and so on that you can get from this kind of platform.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So then, Mani, maybe you can tell us, with this, are we kind of like committing to a certain, or is HP committing to a certain service availability to SAP so that SAP can also deliver that to the end customers?
That's a very good question, right? I think we've been discussing this also, right? So SAP gives, a base and a premium option for their customers, right? Which typically varies from 99.7 to 99.9% SLA uptime. And as far as I know, all the customers we run are all premium customers, right? They take 99.9, right? If an application provider needs to commit 99.999% availability to the end customer, the under the hood systems, right? The infrastructure which is powering that, the hypervisor which runs that, needs to be giving a better availability commitment, right?
Yep.
And as HPE, our agreement with SAP is we do 4 nines, right? 99.99% is what we give to SAP, right? From we cover all the way up to the, we provide typically infra as a service, right? So the underlying infrastructure, compute, storage, networking gears. And on top of it, it's also the hypervisor, right? Anything about operating system to the application database, everything is operated by SAP. So till IaaS, it is 99.99 is what we give to SAP.
Okay, that's great. So now we talk about the solutions, we talk about the day two as well as the service availability. So now, then to a business person, or maybe from a business perspective, what does that really means? What I'm really asking is, what value does this unlock to SAP customers? What exactly it means to them?
So I think the first element is familiar consistency.
Yeah.
Okay? Because consistency, everybody can give you consistency. But if you are not used to that consistency, it becomes a friction and a pain. And not only is a friction and a pain, but now is a consistent one. That means you will have that friction and that pain for very long. Yeah. Because if you don't like it, you will have it for some time. Because so for us, we are not changing the way people are doing their business, as I said. So from a business owner point of view, yes, they will get the benefit that they expect from moving to a latest generation, but they will not lose their IP. They will not lose their internal process. They will not lose their innovation. They will not lose their business advantage compared to another customer because of the method that they have been using, have been working for them. So why they should change to get into something which is going to be more friction without really a clear value proposition at the end. So I think that's really what we give. The second thing is, it's a very dedicated environment in a sense that we and with SAP have people who are really dedicated to one customer. Yeah? Whatever we are giving as a cloud ERP on-premise, that services is not shared with any other customer than the one that we and SAP are dealing with. So I have no shared services with another tenant.
Does it make it more secured?
It's more secure.
Definitely, right?
Because it's more secure because you have definitely a set of people also that you know. We have an account service manager which is there to support that specific SAP customer. Not 2, not 3, 1. We have a set of automation, even though they are consistent across the world, but the way we apply that is only for you as a customer. We don't have people who are not familiar with this environment who are suddenly going to, during this weekend, because this guy is not there, then this guy is going to do, and they don't know what is actually the reality of that customer because it's foreign to that environment. So we keep that, again, consistent, and the dedication of the resources and the process and to a customer and to a kind of triangulation between HPE, SAP, and the client. And that is basically the key of our success. Yeah, because we want to make sure that there is no, I would say, discontinuity, no lack of transparency. Yes, we are going to do change.
Yeah.
But first, we are going to expose to SAP and the client, this is our change plan. Are we all okay? Do I have to maybe adjust a date or so on? Because I give you the choice. Yeah. Or we want to deploy with this capacity. Are we all okay? Are we all agree that this is the right capacity? Or you want to put that into this data center? Are we all agree that this data center is not only ready today physically as a facility for the start of this operation, but is it ready for the whole term of whatever you want to do? Yeah. So this is again something that we deliver to stay as close as possible to the business of the customer, and this is something that I don't know how to insist enough for the business owner of our customer environment to understand that level of dedication that they will obtain with the cloud ERP on premise.
Yeah, and just to add to what he said, right? While HPE works with SAP very closely with our GreenLake offering, from a customer point of view, SAP is a touch point, right? So SAP signs a contract. So it's one contract signed by SAP as an front end. And we are behind the scenes with SAP, right? And support the platform. That's how it works. So, and there isn't clear role segregation between what HPE does and what SAP does. And we're constantly improving it, right, to do things in a more automated way, as what you're saying, onto the scope what we have as an IAS. I think that constantly is also helping SAP to provide better services for their customers.
Yeah, so the value to the customer is really about consistency, which then bring forward the speed of executions for the customers. Christophe, so what does this really mean to the leadership around governance and risk?
No, as I explained a little bit earlier, right? Again, we want this to be clear. We want the clarity and the transparency to be there. Yeah, and we don't want that just at the beginning of the contract. It's a continuous stuff. Again, these systems are so complicated and complex that they're also changing. We want to make sure, like for example, if the customer have a plan in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years or more, right? To add an additional, let's say, business function or business application into their framework, which is happening to every customer. Okay. Again, we will be there with SAP to understand how are we going to integrate that into this platform. Yeah. So it's and again, you have to integrate with that platform, and you have to be fast, and you have to be also done properly, because we want to also make sure that the consistency that we have in operation at day one continue no matter the event that the business is going to have into the future. Yeah. So this kind of balance between the operation consistency and the business alignment is a very important thing that we try to deliver the best we can, right? And that is also a preparation for the future. A lot of the customers are telling us, oh, if I put a cloud ERP on premise, I don't have the same function available for me in the future to do AI with SAP. This is totally wrong.
That's wrong.
Okay, this is something that is wrong. I think it's a misunderstanding of the message. But if you discuss clearly with somebody from SAP and you say that I will have a cloud ERP on premise, can I use your future AI modules that you are going to propose as an SAP? The answer is yes. There is absolutely no limitation today, and this is not the plan to have that in the future, because to SAP, on-premise or public cloud is the same service level that they want to guarantee to the customer. Yeah, for again, from a function and features, right? So again, and if now the customer want also to go into a different AI solution than the one that SAP, they have also that flexibility. Because again, all the data are into their environment.
Correct.
They are managing that through SAP, but is still into their access. They have all the right, and they have no problem of, let's say, latency and whatsoever, because it's into their network. The level of control for your future is definitely there. So again, if we go back from an executive point of view, is how much control do you want to maintain for such mission critical system? And if you don't want to maintain that level of control, do you have the liability to make that decision across your entire internal business ecosystem? because it's not a one-person decision. Yeah, it's a company decision. So everybody need to understand what will be the implication of going into a direction or another one. We have been into a lot of discussion with customers, and every time we ask them some very simple question about control, they suddenly realize that actually, they need to have the flexibility and so on, but they really don't want to lose the control, especially in the past 2 years. I mean, if I take 2 years ago, maybe it was a little bit more or a little bit less sensitive.
Yeah.
But for the past 2 years, especially depending what kind of region you are operating from, the level of control into not so much of a long term, but even mid-term is evolving quite drastically, actually. Yeah, and again, to migrate or to relocate an SAP Cloud ERP system from the public cloud and to repatriate that into a private cloud because there is a so-called emergency, it will not be done over the night.
Yep.
It's impossible. Nobody can give you that. Not possible. No matter how much money you will have, it will not be possible. So having that in mind is important because, again, this is the kernel, the core of your business, is managing all your financial, is managing a lot of your procurement system, is managing a lot of your manufacturing system, shipment, and so on. So it is so important that you need to keep that in mind for that system and all the ecosystem that this stuff is actually going to connect with, which is critical to your own outcomes and your own business, to your customer.
Okay. So then looking ahead, Mani, so how then does this thing kind of support the future innovations?
Yeah, I think he already covered certain aspects of it, right? I think when executive look at ERP, they don't look at it as an source of truth, not only as a source of truth, but also as an engine for automation, right? You mentioned about automation, right? With agentic AI coming into play and with SAP Jules, for example, right? And, customers and the CIOs are very keen and asking how and when they can deploy, right, agentic AI in the platform and get to see productivity out of it, right? And that's the way they are looking at it. The executives want to see if they can implement AI, right, in their environment and get to automate the workflows and get results faster. That's one area. And second, for example, you also mentioned about AI needing real-time data, right? And that needs to be latency sensitive. And SAP Cloud ERP Private really provides that option for the customer, right, to keep it close to their environment, and that supports their complete core operations, right, from an AI perspective. Right.
Yep.
Okay. So let's say if a customer who is now kind of like convinced and want to consider this path, so where should they begin? Any recommendations?
The first recommendation is the location that you have at disposition today future-proof? Yeah. So you need to have a site assessment to make sure that the location where you want to put the next generation of this cloud ERP platform is basically sound. Do you need to prepare the site in a certain way? So I think you start there. That's the first thing that people need to do. So because we have seen that with the new technology, I mean the new power density that we have into racks and so on. So the data center that people were having a couple of months back may not be the one that they need to have for this next deployment. So they may need to maybe add additional power capacity, or maybe find a data center which is of a next generation, because they want to put that maybe into co-location. So which co-location? So we can help them to do that. And by the way, this is totally independent to the SAP role and responsibility. SAP just want to tell, hey, you tell me if this data center meet this requirement. If yes, I operate that. I will operate Cloud ERP there. Yeah. So we can help the customer because we have within HPE, first of all, a good understanding of what is an SAP environment. And on the other hand, we have a set of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineer, professional engineer, who can come to your data center and make a very quick assessment of the location and validate that this location makes sense to deploy that environment from a physical MEP point of view, but also from a network connectivity and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's the first thing that we do. The second thing that we need to look at is, again, the surrounding environment. Yeah? So if we have to move to cloud ERP, so what will be the rest of the movement implication? Yeah? So is there any application that need to be transformed, or are you going to maintain this specific application or replace it? So there is a lot of things that are going to happen usually in the perimeter of the SAP modernization. So we need to understand what are these next steps that the customer will have to take, and again, how do we phase that set of steps? Yeah, where do we start and so on? And it's very important also to understand that we have to do that with SAP.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not something that we, HPE, do alone. We cannot. Yeah? We have to do that with SAP, because ultimately SAP is going to be the prime. It's going to be the one delivering the services. But we, as an HPE, because we are so much involved into years and years of deployment of SAP, I just want to remind everyone that HPE today is the company and is the platform which is the largest user or the largest usage of SAP as a company itself, but also we have the largest install base of SAP platform today. And so we are one, if not the one, who have been actually giving power to an SAP system for the past decades. Yeah, so we are very close partner of SAP for many years because we use it, but also because we are giving our server, storage, and network equipment for this workload for very long. Right? So we have a lot of capacity and understanding on how to deal with an ERP system, and we can complement very well the SAP capacity that they may have into certain countries, especially in Asia Pacific, because we also realize that for this kind of transformation, sometimes having extra capacity from a partner like HPE will also add value to SAP and to the customer, because we may have a certain level of expertise who are pretty welcome into the discussion. Right? So do an assessment of your data center, take a look at the ecosystem that you have, assemble the right team, and make sure that this right team is at least having a little bit, of course, of the customer environment to be represented, a little bit of SAP to be represented, and a little bit of HPE to be represented, and maybe some partner that you may have, because we know also that in some case, the customer is having for the SAP workload, and they are using some local system integrator who are totally welcome into this discussion, because they will be part of the future plan. Yeah?
So anything to
just
add?
Adding to what Christophe said on the credentials part, right? Christophe, I've myself been working on doing SAP migrations, right? Back like, I think at least 20 years back, I guess, moving from Oracle to HPE platform. As HPE, as a company, right? We have more than 30 plus years of solid working relationship with SAP, right? That's one. And two, as of today, we have more than 25,000 plus unique customers running SAP on HPE platforms globally, right? And when HANA was rolled out by SAP, right, as on today, I think we would roughly have about 46,000 plus deployments on SAP HANA today, right? Apart from this, we're the only company where we have a dedicated COE, right? And we have a co-innovation lab where we have engineers from HPE, SAP, Intel, and other ecosystem partners who work together, and that ensures that the platform that what we built sustains the mission critical environment and meets those customer requirements, right? I think that's another important aspect. And now coming back to the point from an execution side, right? What all they need to look at. I think I would say business objectives. I think adding to what Christophe said is another critical aspect, right? When they move from an existing legacy system, because 2027 is what SAP has said that they need to move away from ECC.
2030.
Yeah, 2030, right? So move from ACC to the newer platform, right? And that also puts a pressure on the customer. So they need to clearly call out their business priorities, what they need to transform and what they need to modernize, and what's the level of customization which they need to get in, right? And then that's point number one. And then do and structure a rollout is what I would say, right? I think with that, with SAP and HP, they're in good hands to take care of their operations.
Okay. So as we wrap up, could you share on your perspective on why organizations should act now, especially early you mentioned about the 2030 timeline?
Yeah. So first, as a closing, I will say that it's still a couple of years before the time it will be too late, right? So yes, customer may think that they have time, but moving this kind of environment to a new platform need time.
Yeah, it takes easily a year or two.
So you need to also put your plan against the fact that yes, you need at least 12 months to put that correctly if you have all the elements in place and so on. And as I said, it's not just the SAP system, it's also what are the dependencies of that system. Yeah. The other thing is people need to realize also that there is not too many people who know this kind of migration process.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you delay, the less service provider people will be available for you for that time window.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there is a capacity of resource in the market that people need to keep in mind. There is not an infinite capacity of people who can do it. Even SAP will have their own limitation of resources because they cannot suddenly find people out of a hat, right? So there is no magic into that. So the earlier people are planning, the less risk it will be. The earlier people are also planning, the earlier they will get return on that transformation, because it's not, as I was mentioning, it's not just a technology, it's also a set of new outcome that they will actually get out of this transformation. So again, don't delay too much because time is going to be very precious because its complexity is there. But also don't delay too much because the benefit can be quite huge to move into this new platform and a new potential that platform is actually giving to your business. But again, keep the control. Don't sacrifice the control because a mission critical system without control is at risk from day one. Yeah.
Yeah, from my point of view, Christoph, I resonate well with you. And just to add, few things. One is to reduce risk, and that's more important, and having ownership and accountability for the whole platform, right? And having it on-prem, people think that you cannot, provide a cloud-like experience, but with SAP and HPE together, we really provide cloud-like operating model on-prem, right? And that also includes scalability, which is very important for customer, right?
So at the start, we talked about something valuable that you want to keep it at home, something you want secured, close by, and always within reach. So flexibility and easy to use is very important. So this SAP ERP Private is kind of the give that correct balance that our customers will need as they kind of modernize, because you've mentioned that in the discussions that moving or modernization is not about just moving from one system to another system. It's actually a lot more, right? And this is exactly the solutions that kind of create the foundations which provides control and innovations for the future.
Right. That's right.
So thanks again, Mani and Christoph, for joining in today's conversations.
Thank you.
Thank you.